Hi, hello, hi. It's me again. I am, as you can see, back in my craft room, which is a mess. Also means I'm back on my computer. I actually got some good feedback about my last video where I was reading from my old blog post. So I'm glad that that wasn't super awkward. And because of that, I thought maybe I would do another one. I wanted to make some more videos this month about Ehlers Danlos syndrome, which I have, because May is Ehlers Danlos syndrome awareness month. I know that May is an awareness month for many things, for mental health as well, and I think there are a couple other chronic illnesses that it is. So so because it is EDS Awareness Month, I thought that I would read an old post from April 27th, 2015. Now, in 2015, in April, about 2 days before I wrote this post is when I got my official diagnosis for EDS. And so this is a post about me declaring my official diagnosis. And I just thought that it would be sort of interesting for me to go back and read it, but also to read it to you. I want to do another video that's sort of like a verbal telling of a day in the life of someone with EDS, because I just don't really have the time or the skills to make a really nice, edited, staged, morning routine video for this. So I might just walk you through it. So anyway, for now, I'm going to read you this post. It's pretty short, don't worry. It is titled, "It's Official EDS Diagnosis." The title says it's official because the year before that, my mom had gone and got a diagnosis for EDS herself. EDS is a hereditary disease, so I had already had a long list of the same symptoms. So it was safe to assume that I had EDS as well, but for the sake of, having it on paper, I went and got a diagnosis as well. But prior to the official diagnosis, everyone, my doctors and myself, were assuming that I had EDS. So, excuse me. So here it goes. I have known, quote, assumed, for a couple years now that I have a genetic disease called Ehlers Danlos syndrome. But a few weeks ago, a few weeks, not a few days, sorry. A few weeks ago, I went to the Brigham and Women's Adult Genetics Center in Boston to meet with some genetic specialists to get my official diagnosis. The appointment was easy and mostly painless. They took a long, very long, verbal and written account of my personal and family medical history, followed by a physical exam. I still have an echocardiogram looming, as problems with the heart valves are very prevalent in EDS. I did have that. I had that a couple weeks after I wrote this, and all was good, thank goodness, because there are now 7 different types of EDS, and more than one, but anyway, there's a vascular type, which is the very scariest type. They all are not pleasant and are relatively scary, but the vascular type is the one that will kill you spontaneously and quickly, and that's scary. Anyway, my echocardiogram came out clear. I do have to be repeatedly tested. It's just to test to make sure that your heart valves are opening and closing properly. So I'm good on that. The doctors were very kind and delicate in telling me that I do indeed have EDS. I imagine for people going in blind, being told that you have a debilitating hereditary disease with no cure or treatment is devastating. Luckily, I already knew. I'd already come to terms with it. And the thing with EDS is, you're born with it. You've lived with the pain, and it's apparent that it will be there your whole life. There was no surprise. But still, having it be official does feel different somehow. Though I was 99% sure I had it, moving that number to an absolute 100% does change things slightly. I feel like I am being forced to actually acknowledge that nothing can make it better, and also forced to realize that I can't ignore it. I need to protect my body more than I have been. Excuse me. What most people consider to be one of the serious struggles of EDS is that it is an invisible illness. Unless you're really limping that day, no one can look at you and know that there's something wrong with you, and it's hard to be suffering silently. However, for the most part, I think I prefer it. I'm not sure I want everyone to know that things are hard for me. I prefer to be mostly positive. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I prefer to be a mostly positive force in the lives of those around me. The hard part, personally, is not feeling helpful. I can't really help friends move anymore. I can't lift heavy packages into the house or pile a ton of groceries on my arm. I can't shop for a long time or walk a few blocks in the city with my friends. I have to be a burden on other people, which is the last thing that I would ever want. That's still true. I actually have a handicap parking placard now, and sometimes I'll go to a city with my friends, and they want to just park in this garage and walk around from place to place, blocks and blocks, and I have to oftentimes sheepishly say, well, I have this handicap tag. If we could park somewhere closer, that would be really good. I really don't like doing that, but I also know that if I don't do that, I won't be able to walk around with them, or I won't be able to walk the next day. So, I really don't like that. If you clicked on the link to the EDS Foundation above, obviously you didn't, then you're likely to read about what it is and the common symptoms. If you didn't, which I know you didn't, the basic gist is that EDS is a connective tissue disorder. Connective tissues being the glue that literally holds your body together. I'm missing that glue. Due to this, my joints are chronically loose and hypermobile, which means for me specifically is that on a daily basis, my joints are subluxating and dislocating. Hips, shoulders, elbows, jaws, knees, toes, ribs, fingers, everything are constantly coming out of their sockets or just wobbling around in there. Sometimes it's very painful, and sometimes they just feel loose and I can wiggle them back into place. Because of the joint problems, this causes severe arthritis, as well as chronic muscle spasms and tears. I have over 60 small tears in my rotator cuff and my shoulder muscles. I wrote Swiss cheesy when they gave me the not x-ray, the MRI images from my shoulder. When I was looking at them with the doctor, and I was like, what's the Swiss cheesiness? And he was like, yeah, that's supposed to be like a nice thick cheddar, not a Swiss cheese. There are myriad other symptoms like my very poor and degenerating eyesight, dental problems, skin and healing issues, possible heart problems, and all kinds of other things. The connective tissue business, it's everywhere in the body. As for the future, it's just more of the same. Treatment for EDS is simply just managing the pain. There are no medications that can help with the connective tissues. There will be joint replacement surgeries for sure in the future. But I'm going to hold out as long as possible for those. There are splints for some joints that can help. I have a few finger ones, as well as I have 2 ankle brace and splints. I have ones for my wrists, my fingers. I used to have one for the neck, but I luckily don't have to use it very much. And I had like this mouth guard thing for my jaw, but I don't use that either. Let's see. As well as, of course, canes and wheelchairs are always an option. I'm making this post because a few people were very curious about the condition after I received my diagnosis, and in person my answers are very minimal. Not because I am uncomfortable talking about it, but just that I don't want them to feel uncomfortable about it. I feel like I need to expand on that a little. I don't really know how. It's not that I feel like I'm making people uncomfortable with my disability at all. It's just that having a conversation like that, okay, how can I phrase this? Having any conversation about something in which both parties don't understand it in the same context is just very uncomfortable for everyone. You know, everyone, I believe, at least everyone I've ever met or talked to online or heard about, everyone has a problem. Everyone. No one has a 100% perfectly healthy, comfortable, painless body to go along with a perfectly healthy, emotionally and mentally stable mind. Right? Everybody has an issue. And we can relate to that, but if it's not the same issue, it's hard to relate. It's hard for me to tell a friend about EDS and about what it does to my body because they logically can understand. They know what connective tissue is. They know what pain is, and they can sympathize, but they can't empathize. So, it automatically makes them feel badly. It feels like I can't relate to the struggles that you're having, so I'm sorry, Doesn't mean they don't want to help. It doesn't mean that they don't feel terribly that you have to go through this, but they couldn't possibly understand. I have a few friends that lost their parents in the past few years, and it's something that I can think about, right? I mean, I know logically how hard that must be, and I know how hard it would be for me if I lost my dad or my mom. But emotionally, I can't really put myself in their shoes because it's never happened to me. And I remember distinctly two friends within about a year and a half, they both lost their dads. And I remember one saying to the other, like, welcome to the club. Like, it's a club now. Like all of a sudden you can relate on this other level that, you couldn't before. And, I don't want to be in that club. I'm just saying, unless someone asks me specific questions about about EDS or about my issues with EDS, I don't really want to bring it up and talk about it, except, now all of a sudden it's EDS Awareness Month and I want to tell you all about it. So, the Awareness Month thing is sort of, I always thought it was a little bit silly. The dog is licking herself inappropriately. Like Breast Cancer Awareness Month or something. And I know what its purpose is, but it always sounds a little bit silly because we are all aware of breast cancer, Everyone is aware of what cancer is, and most people are aware of what heart disease is and these things. And if they're not aware of these smaller, more rare diseases and syndromes, it's okay, right? Like, it's more that the doctors need to be aware. But with EDS, I do feel like awareness is important because it has always been regarded, excuse me, it has always been regarded as a rare disease. But now, the more studies being done and the more awareness that's out there, they're discovering that it's a lot more prevalent than they thought. I believe, don't quote me on this, but when my mom was first looking it up, thinking that, we had this thing, it was believed that it was like 1 in 250,000 people or something like that would be affected. But now they're saying it's like 1 in 2,500 is closer. And because it's hereditary, obviously it would run in families, and that would be a higher number of people sort of that you would know. So yeah, and because people, especially doctors, don't know that much about it yet, it's not being diagnosed. And yes, there's no treatment, so it seems like diagnosis is in vain, right? Like, you just, yay, you have a name to call it, but the problems, the symptoms that come along with EDS are so vast and serious that it's really helpful to know why they're happening, right? So before the EDS diagnosis, I was just somebody who was diagnosed with arthritis when I was like 10. And I was chronically subluxating my knees and my hips. And my eyes were really bad, legally blind, like from birth, but they get worse every year. I have, dental problems. I have all these problems that previously to the EDS would be, sorry, she's so gross. Prior to EDS would be, just not even related symptoms. It would just be, oh, this crappy luck that, that I have all these tears in my rotator cuff, and, I'm getting back spasms all the time. Like, but once you find out that it's this thing and that it's a connective tissue that is through the whole body, it really changes the way these smaller symptoms are diagnosed and treated. It also really affects the way we would have surgery, and EDS as well, can really affect how your body reacts to like painkillers and anesthesia and other drugs that you may be given normally, but because you have EDS, it may not affect you the same way, and that is a problem, sometimes a deadly problem, when it comes to surgeries and things. So that is my whole post about being diagnosed and how I felt about it. At the end of the post, I did list a few other YouTubers that made videos about EDS. At this point, they're very outdated, but if they're still there, I will post them in the description box. So, I guess happy Ehlers Danlos Awareness Month. And of course, if you have any questions at all, you can leave them for me. Or if you just want to say hi, you can say hi, because I like that too. And I will talk to you later. Bye.